I step out of the rideshare, my shoulders finally relaxing after the 3-hour flight from Seattle. The afternoon sun warms my face as I tighten my grip on the gift bag containing a silk scarf for Mom Robin's egg blue, her favorite color. My other hand clutches my laptop bag with the contracts for the $2.3 million marketing deal I just closed. I can't wait to tell everyone. My smile freezes mid-formation. 15 black garbage bags stand in perfect formation at our front gate like silent sentinels. Not the small kitchen kind, the industrial-strength contractor bags, bulging and tied with precision. Behind them, my mother and 3 siblings form a human wall on our front lawn. Mom's arms are crossed, her chin lifted slightly in that way that always made my stomach tighten as a child. Marcus, Elise, and Darren flank her like loyal lieutenants. Mrs. Peterson across the street has stopped deadheading her roses to watch. The Millers have paused their car washing. My family has always been private about our conflicts. This public display means something catastrophic. What's going on? I ask, my voice sounding distant to my own ears. Mom's face remains perfectly composed. Kendra, you're 26. It's time to be on your own, she announces with the same tone she might use to comment on the weather forecast. The bags contain your things. I blink rapidly, the significance of the scene taking seconds to process. The contract in my bag, the one that would finally prove my worth to them, suddenly feels weightless against the weight of this moment. After Dad died when I was 8, his will split ownership of our family home equally among us all, though Mom retained the deed. I remember sitting in Mr. Caldwell's office, swinging my legs on the too-tall chair as he explained I owned 1/5 of our house. My siblings never let me forget how they all moved out by 23, starting real adult lives while I lingered at home. Never mind that I pay more than my share of utilities and property taxes. Just last week before my Seattle trip, Mom had been uncharacteristically distracted when I mentioned my potential promotion. Now I understand why this had been in motion for weeks. Why now? Why like this? I ask, my voice steadier than I feel. You couldn't have given me notice? Marcus steps forward, hands in his pockets like he's about to deliver reasonable news. It's to teach you responsibility, Kendra. You need this push. Mom sighs as if I'm being deliberately obtuse. The house is sold. The new owners want immediate possession. 5. The world tilts slightly. Sold? Without consulting me? I'm a legal co-owner. My voice has found a new steadiness I didn't know I possessed. The contract in my bag feels heavy again, but differently, like armor rather than proof. You're being dramatic, Mom says. We've discussed this for months. Not with me, you haven't. My siblings avoid eye contact, suddenly fascinated by the hedges, the sky, their shoes anywhere but my face. Mom purses her lips, the faintest wrinkle of annoyance appearing between her eyebrows. Your share of the proceeds will be reduced, of course, she says. You've stayed much longer than the others. We've calculated the difference in rent you should have been paying all these years. The full scope of what's happening crashes over me in waves. My home, gone. My inheritance, diminished. My family support, non-existent. All while I was working to close the biggest deal of my career. I walk to the bags, opening the nearest one. My winter sweaters. The next contains books. The third, shoes, and I pull it out the silk scarf I bought for Mom, crumpled between my worn running shoes and bathroom cleaning supplies. She must have gone through my suitcase while I was showering this morning. I fold the scarf carefully and place it in my pocket. Something in me shifts, like a bone setting after a break. The pain is present but clarifying. I'll need to make several trips, I say, no longer asking permission but stating fact. I'll have everything cleared by sunset. The confidence in my voice surprises even me. I'm halfway through loading the third garbage bag when a folded paper slips from between 2 photo albums. The glossy cardstock lands face up on the damp sidewalk. Not just any paper, a real estate listing. For my house. Our house. I pick it up with fingers that suddenly feel numb. The listing date reads 2 months ago. 2 months. While I was pulling 60-hour weeks, while I was landing the Seattle account, while I was dutifully paying my share of property taxes, they were photographing my bedroom. I lean against my car, the metal hot against my back in the afternoon Sunday. Mom's recent distraction crystallizes into something far more calculated. Her casual questions about my work schedule, her unexpected book club meetings that required privacy, the strange man I glimpsed in our living room who was introduced as Carol's husband from church, despite Carol being unmarried. My phone buzzes. A text from Elise appears. Just checking if you need help moving your things. Marcus said you're being difficult about everything. I tap to open our sibling group chat, scrolling back through messages I missed while in Seattle. They've been planning this for weeks. Screenshots of the listing. Discussions about timing. Marcus suggesting they wait until I had that big meeting thing, so I'd be too busy to make a scene. A new text notification slides down from the top of my screen. Harper, any update? My spare room is ready whenever you need it. I squint at the listing photos again. There's my bedroom with the blue comforter I've had since college. My desk with the framed photo of Dad and me at the lake. My closet door ajar, showing the dresses I only wear for client meetings. All photographed while I was working, unaware that strangers were evaluating my personal space. Need any help? Mrs. Peterson calls from across the street, pruning shears still in hand. I'm fine, thank you. I answer automatically, the familiar mask of composure slipping into place. But I'm not fine, far from it. Later that evening, I sit cross-legged on Harper's living room floor, my laptop balanced on my knees. On the screen, my family's social media feeds display a celebration I wasn't invited to. You don't have to look at those, Harper says, setting a mug of tea beside me. It'll just make you feel worse. She's right, but I can't look away. Mom, Marcus, Elise, and Darren at Giovanni's, the expensive Italian restaurant downtown we only visited on special occasions. Champagne glasses raised in a toast. Mom's caption, "New beginnings for everyone." The timestamp shows they went directly from evicting me to celebrating with wine and pasta. Look at this, I say, turning the screen toward Harper. Elise has commented on Mom's post. So glad we finally got full value for the house. The market couldn't be better. Darren's reply appears below. Property values are projected to rise another 15% next quarter, but this was the right time. Couldn't wait any longer. I scroll further and freeze. Marcus has posted photos of the buyers touring the house while I was still in Seattle. Fresh start for everyone, his caption reads. Everyone except me. They planned all of this, I whisper, my voice strange in my ears. They waited until I closed the Seattle deal. They knew I'd be too busy to fight back. So, Harper's couch feels foreign beneath me, the borrowed blanket scratchy against my skin. My throat tightens as reality crashes in. I have nowhere to live. Rental listings on my laptop mock me with their prices. Average one-bedroom apartments in our city, $1,800 per month. My savings account shows a balance that would cover 3 months at most, depleted from paying down my student loans while my siblings invested in property and retirement accounts. Tomorrow, I need to update my address with HR. My 6-month probation period after promotion isn't over yet. What will my boss think when I explain my sudden housing crisis? That I'm unstable? Unreliable? Last night, I dreamed I was standing at our front door, key in hand, only to find the locks changed. I woke disoriented in Harper's spare room, momentarily confused about where I was before reality crashed back. It's happened 3 nights in a row now. You should talk to a lawyer, Harper says, breaking into my thoughts. Your name is on the deed, right? They can't just sell without your consent. I don't know anymore, I admit. Mom always handled all the paperwork after Dad died. Harper's boyfriend, a law student, recommended an attorney who offered free consultations. I couldn't afford much more than that. The email from the attorney arrives as I'm brushing my teeth, preparing for another night on Harper's pull-out couch. The legal language is clear even to my exhausted brain. I legally own 20% of the house, regardless of how long I lived there. My signature should have been required for any sale. The reduced payment they're offering violates my inheritance rights. As I stare at the attorney's letter that evening, I wonder, should I demand my full share immediately and cut all ties with my family? Or accept the reduced amount to maintain some relationship with the only family I have? Financial security meant freedom, but was completely severing these bonds worth the battle ahead? The group text from Mom arrives while I'm scrolling through apartment listings at Harper's kitchen table. My phone buzzes against the wood, the screen lighting up with a message sent to every aunt, uncle, and cousin in our family tree. We've been forced to take drastic measures with Kendra. She refused to grow up despite our patience. Sometimes love requires tough decisions. My stomach contracts as if I've been punched. I set the phone down, fingers trembling slightly as I reach for my coffee mug. Harper glances over from where she's washing dishes, her eyebrows raised in question. Mom's rewriting history, I say, my voice surprisingly steady, telling the extended family I forced them to kick me out. Before I can process this, my phone buzzes 3 more times. Aunt Carolyn's annual Thanksgiving invitation rescinded. Uncle Peter's message expressing disappointment. Cousin Rachel suggesting I reflect on my choices. Family of vultures, Harper mutters, drying her hands on a dish towel. I swipe away from the messages, returning to apartment listings, but the screen blurs through sudden tears I refuse to let fall. Thanksgiving alone. Another consequence I hadn't anticipated. That evening, a notification pops up from a local buy-sell group. Mom has listed my childhood bedroom furniture. The oak dresser Dad refinished for my 8th birthday. The bookshelf that held my collection of Nancy Drew mysteries. All priced to move quickly, without so much as offering them to me first. I screenshot the listings and add them to my growing folder labeled Documentation. The apartment manager of yet another dingy studio frowns at his computer screen the next morning. His office smells of cigarettes and cheap air freshener. Outside the window, traffic crawls past on a street lined with fast food restaurants. "There's an issue with your credit check," he says, not meeting my eyes. "That's not possible. My credit score was 780 last month." He turns the monitor so I can see. 5 unpaid utility bills from 3 years ago, all in my name, all tied to an address I don't recognize. "That's not my address," I say, leaning closer. "I've never lived there." 2 hours and 3 phone calls later, I discover Mom opened accounts using my social security number when I was in college. The address belongs to my brother Marcus. The unpaid bills total $3,700. That night, I stare at the ceiling above Harper's pull-out couch, my mind racing through calculations. The inheritance money hasn't arrived. My savings won't cover both security deposits and these sudden debts. The marketing deal's commission won't hit my account for 90 days. My phone chimes with an early morning text from the Seattle client. They need revisions on the implementation timeline. I've been awake for 27 hours straight. The next morning, I arrive at the office with concealer caked under my eyes. My presentation lacks the sharp focus that earned me the Seattle account. My boss notices, asks if everything's all right. I force a smile and blame it on a cold. That night, Harper hands me a leather-bound journal. "For documenting everything," she says. "Legal stuff, conversations, financial records. Organize it now while it's fresh." I stay up until 3, creating timelines and listing financial damages. The journal becomes my anchor in the storm, something solid to grip when my mind spins with exhaustion and betrayal. By the 12th apartment viewing, the units blur together in a depressing parade of water stains and noisy radiators. This latest property manager, James, a man with salt and pepper hair and reading glasses perched on his nose, studies my rental application. "Kendra Whitman," he says, looking up suddenly. "You created that campaign for River City Bikes, didn't you?" I nod, surprised. "That's my brother's shop. Sales jumped 40% after your campaign." He removes his glasses, smiling. "For the woman who saved my brother's company, I might have something not on the market yet." For the first time in weeks, my shoulders relax a fraction. 2 days later, Mom texts asking to meet at Riverside Coffee to talk things through. I agree, against Harper's advice. Maybe there's still something to salvage, some explanation that will make sense of the garbage bags and the credit fraud and the Thanksgiving disinvitations. The coffee shop hums with quiet conversation and the hiss of espresso machines. Mom sits by the window in a cardigan, the exact shade of blue as the scarf I'd brought her from Seattle. She looks smaller somehow, her hands cupped around her mug. "You look tired," she says when I sit down. "I am tired." "We did this because we love you," she says, reaching for my hand across the table. I move mine to my lap. Sometimes children need a push to reach their potential. The words land like stones dropped into still water. Love doesn't put someone's belongings in garbage bags, I say, my voice low but clear. Love doesn't sell their home without warning, and it certainly doesn't open fraudulent accounts in their name. Her face hardens. "You've always been so dramatic. Everything I did was for your own good." Was identity theft for my own good? I needed to help Marcus with his bills. You weren't using your credit for anything important. I stand up, leaving money for my untouched coffee beside the cup. I have to go. "Kendra Marie Whitman, don't you walk away from me." Her voice rises, causing heads to turn. After everything I've done for you. I keep walking, past the curious stares, through the door, into the parking lot. Her voice follows me, calling my name, but for the first time, it doesn't pull me back. In my car, a strange sensation spreads through my chest. Not anger, not hurt, something lighter, almost buoyant. I realize with startling clarity that I no longer crave her approval. The revelation hits me like fresh air after years in a stuffy room. I drive to James's building that evening to sign the lease on a studio apartment. The space is small but clean, with good light and a view of a community garden. Harper and her boyfriend Alex help me move in the following weekend, assembling secondhand furniture until midnight under the glow of paper lanterns. Perfect spot for your photographs, Harper says, pointing to a wall facing the morning light. I unpack the framed landscapes Mom had criticized as amateur and pointless. Harper and Alex hang them carefully, measuring the spaces between, stepping back to ensure they're level. These are really good, Alex says, admiring a sunset shot I'd taken at Lake Champlain. While my family had tossed my belongings into garbage bags, these friends arrange my remaining possessions with the care of museum curators. They fold clothes neatly into drawers, alphabetize my books, position my desk to catch the best light for working. 3 weeks after the eviction, I'm preparing for a follow-up meeting with the Seattle client. Their request for me specifically to lead the project expansion positions me perfectly for the promotion I'd been chasing. I polish my implementation strategy until midnight, reviewing metrics and optimization plans. As I finally close my laptop, my phone lights up with a text from Darren. Mom lost everything. She's going to call you. I stare at the screen, the 12 simple words rewriting the power dynamic once again. I stand before the Seattle executive team, my laser pointer circling the final metrics slide. My professional smile doesn't waver as 14 missed calls from my mother illuminate my phone on the conference table. The device vibrates again, inching toward my presentation notes like an unwelcome guest. With this implementation strategy, we project an additional 18% market penetration by fourth quarter, I say, clicking to the next slide. Our focus groups show particular resonance with the sustainability messaging among your target demographic. The CEO, Barbara Harmon, leans forward in her chair, her silver bob swinging as she nods. These numbers are impressive, Kendra. What about expanding into the Pacific Northwest educational sector? We've been eyeing that market. My heart beats faster, but my voice remains steady. I pull up supplemental slides I'd prepared after 3 sleepless nights in my new studio apartment. The walls still bare, except for a single framed photo of a sunrise. I anticipated that question, I say, revealing market analysis for university partnerships. We could expand the campaign with minimal additional resource allocation. The ROI projections indicate an $800,000 revenue opportunity with just a 12% increase in our current marketing spend. My phone buzzes again. Mom's contact photo, her standing proudly in front of our family home, the home she sold without consulting me, flashes mockingly. I slide the phone face down without breaking eye contact with Barbara. The meeting concludes with handshakes and approvals. As others file out, Barbara touches my elbow. That was seamless work, she says, her voice low. Between us, Janet is retiring next quarter. Digital marketing team lead position will be posted soon. She gives me a meaningful look. You should apply. I'm halfway to the airport when I finally listen to my mother's voicemail, the rental car's unfamiliar dashboard glowing in the gathering dusk. Kendra, it's Mom. There's a family emergency. Call me immediately. Her voice lacks the urgency a true emergency would warrant. I've heard this tone before, the false crisis that demands attention on her schedule. I finish the drive to the airport, check in for my flight, and find a quiet corner in the terminal before returning her call. Finally, she answers on the first ring. I've been trying to reach you all day. I was in meetings, Mom. What's the emergency? A heavy pause follows, then a theatrical sigh. I need to tell you something difficult. The money from the house. It's gone. My fingers tighten around my phone. Gone? All of it? I invested it with Timothy Radcliffe, you remember? Your father's old colleague? He promised 20% returns. Her voice cracks. It was a scam, Kendra. Everyone's money, gone. Marcus and Elise won't even speak to me. The terminal announcements fade to background noise as I process her words. The twisted satisfaction I feel surprises me not at her loss, but at the universe's swift response to her betrayal. "I'm so sorry to hear that," I say, my voice neutral. "I've been thinking," she continues, gaining momentum. "Family sticks together in crisis. I'll need to stay with you temporarily while I sort things out. Just until I get back on my feet." The old Kendra would have immediately rearranged her life to accommodate this request. That Kendra died the day I found my belongings in garbage bags. "Kendra? Are you there?" My silence stretches between us. I watch a young family walk past, the father carrying a sleeping toddler against his shoulder, with such care it makes my throat tight. With my mother waiting for my response, I weighed my options carefully. Should I offer limited financial help with clear boundaries? Or was this the moment to completely disentangle myself from a lifetime of manipulation disguised as family loyalty? "I need to think about this," I finally say. "I'll call you tomorrow." I hang up and immediately text Harper. "Emergency friend meeting tonight?" Her response comes instantly. "Wine and pizza at 8. Bring overnight bag if needed." By midnight, Harper and I have researched every affordable senior housing option within 30 miles. Her laptop screen glows as she creates a spreadsheet, organizing communities by amenities, location, and cost. "This one's close to that park you mentioned she likes," Harper says, pointing to a pleasant-looking complex with hanging flower baskets flanking the entrance, walking distance to grocery, and that church she sometimes attends. I nod, throat tight with unexpected emotion. "It's nice, really nice." The next morning, I meet with Dr. Reynolds, the therapist I started seeing after the eviction. Her office always smells faintly of chamomile and paper. "Your mother's situation is not your emergency," she reminds me, her practical voice grounding. "What boundaries feel right to you?" We craft a response offering support with clear conditions. No living together. No unlimited financial assistance. Family therapy sessions mandatory for continued help. "You're not abandoning her," Dr. Reynolds says as our session ends. "You're offering healthy support while protecting yourself." For mine, I meet my mother at Riverside Cafe, rather than giving her my new address. The look of confusion on her face when I suggest this speaks volumes. The afternoon sun warms my back as I drive home, preparing to finalize the proposal. My phone rings with Darren's number, the first contact from any sibling since the eviction day. "Kendra," he says, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. "Has Mom called you?" "About losing the money?" "Yes." A weighted silence follows. "There's something you should know," he says finally. "We knew about her investment plans before the eviction." My knuckles whiten on the steering wheel. "You knew she was about to lose everything, and you still helped her throw me out?" "It's complicated," he murmurs. "Listen, can I stop by sometime? To talk more? I've been thinking a lot about what happened." Through the phone, I hear the first notes of remorse in his voice. Whether it's genuine or simply the consequence of losing his share of the house money remains to be seen. "I'll think about it," I say, turning onto the street leading to my small apartment, the home that's mine alone. I arrive at Roberta's Cafe 15 minutes early, claiming a corner table on the patio where the morning sun warms the red brick wall behind me. My fingers tap a steady rhythm on the manila folder before me, as I rehearse the words I've practiced with Dr. Reynolds for the past week. The bell above the cafe door chimes. My mother walks in, scanning the patio until she spots me. The small rolling suitcase trailing behind her might as well be a neon sign flashing her intentions. My stomach tightens, but I take a slow breath, remembering Harper's words. "You're not the same person she put out with the garbage." "Kendra, sweetheart." My mother's voice carries across the patio, turning heads. She leans down to kiss my cheek, her perfume the same she's worn since I was a child, momentarily transporting me back to moments when her approval meant everything. "You look wonderful," she says, settling into the chair across from me. "That color really brings out your eyes. I always said green was your shade." I've worn this blouse specifically because she once called it unflattering. The compliment confirms what Harper predicted. She's desperate. "How's work going? That big project in Seattle must be keeping you busy." Her eyes dart around the patio before landing back on me. "Your apartment must be close by? Is it a one-bedroom or studio?" "Work is going well," I answer, ignoring her fishing. She takes a sip of water, her lipstick leaving a perfect coral crescent on the glass. "This situation with my investments is just temporary, you understand, once I sort things out with the bank." Her voice trails off as she reaches across the table to pat my hand. After everything I've done for you, raising you alone after your father died, this is how you repay me? The words land like a slap, so familiar I almost flinch. Almost. Instead, I slide a printout across the table. This is Sunnyvale Senior Apartments. It's a studio with a kitchenette, community garden, and weekly social activities. Your Social Security covers most of it. I'll contribute $250 monthly to make up the difference. Her face freezes, lipstick-stained smile suspended in disbelief. I continue, my voice steady. I've already completed the application and paid the deposit. They have availability beginning next week. She pushes the paper back toward me, her coral nails scraping against the table. I don't need charity housing. I need my daughter's support. I'll help you, but you won't be living with me, and my support comes with conditions. A couple at the next table glances over as my mother's voice rises. Conditions? I'm your mother. Yes, you are. I reach into my purse and place the tattered silk scarf on the table between us, robin's egg blue. Now wrinkled from where I found it, stuffed between my running shoes and cleaning supplies in the garbage bag. Her eyes flicker with recognition, then dart away. My first condition is that you attend family therapy sessions with me, I say, watching her shoulders stiffen. Dr. Reynolds has openings on Tuesday afternoons. I don't need therapy. She looks around, voice rising higher. I need my daughter to show some gratitude. The couple next to us are openly watching now. I feel oddly calm, like I'm watching this scene from somewhere above the patio. I gather my things and stand. Then I wish you the best of luck, I say, turning to leave. Wait. Her voice cracks. Fine, I'll try a session or two. I pause, considering the threshold I'm about to cross. This isn't about vengeance or even justice. It's about finally understanding I can choose which relationships to maintain and on what terms. I return to my seat, not from obligation but choice. I slide the folder with the application toward her, terms outlined in yellow highlighter. There's a pen in the folder. Her hand shakes slightly as she signs where I've marked with small post-it flags. When she finishes, she looks up with narrowed eyes. Has Darren called you? The question catches me off guard. He mentioned wanting to talk, but we haven't connected yet. Why? She shakes her head. Nothing, just wondering. She tucks the signed agreement into her purse, her movements brittle. When do I move in? I'll help you this weekend, I say, calculating how much of my Sunday I'll need to sacrifice. The movers I hired will handle your furniture from storage. My phone vibrates in my pocket as I walk away from the cafe. My mother's still sitting at the table, staring at the senior living brochure. I pull it out, expecting a text from Harper, who's been waiting to hear how the meeting went. Instead, it's an email from Walter Chen, our CEO. Kendra, based on your exceptional work with the Seattle account, I'm pleased to offer you the position of digital marketing team lead, effective immediately. I stop mid-stride, pedestrians flowing around me like a river around a stone. For the first time in weeks, my smile feels completely unforced. I stand in the sunlit living room of my new condo, watching dust motes dance in golden beams that spill across hardwood floors. A year can change everything. The windows face east, the realtor explains, jotting notes on her clipboard. Morning person? I am now, I say, running my fingers along the windowsill. In my family home, my photographs were confined to my bedroom walls, hidden like secrets. Here, framed landscapes and portraits will greet the sunrise. The realtor pauses by my largest photograph, a windswept shoreline I captured last fall. Your work? When I nod, she smiles. Stunning composition. The mortgage terms we discussed earlier are competitive for Louisville. With your credit score and down payment, you're in excellent shape. I don't second-guess her assessment or apologize for my questions about property taxes. The woman who once shrank herself to fit into others' expectations has been replaced by someone who knows her worth. The afternoon sun shifts as I enter Dr. Reynolds' office for our family therapy session 1 year since our first appointment. My mother sits primly on the familiar blue couch, her posture still rigid but lacking its former hostility. Kendra's marketing campaign launched last week, she tells Dr. Reynolds, her voice carrying a respect I never thought I'd hear. The television spot played during the news. Dr. Reynolds smiles. That's wonderful, Kendra. How does it feel having your work recognized nationally? Before I can answer, my mother adds, her team doubled their client list this quarter. A year ago, I would have flinched at her hijacking the conversation. Today, I simply nod and add, the campaign connected with our target audience. We're seeing strong results. Dr. Reynolds notices the shift. In our private sessions, we've mapped my progress from desperate need for maternal approval to measured acceptance of what our relationship can realistically become. Not perfect, but no longer poisonous. Linda, what stands out most about Kendra's growth this year? Dr. Reynolds asks. My mother considers this, fingers smoothing invisible wrinkles from her slacks. She doesn't need me anymore, she says finally. And somehow that's made it easier to be proud of her. That evening, laughter fills my new home. Harper arranges a platter of cheese while Dr. Reynolds helps Darren hang string lights across the back patio. My brother looks younger somehow, 6 months of his own therapy softening the hard edges our mother cultivated. Harper raises her glass, her eyes bright with genuine joy. From garbage bags at the gate to this beautiful home all by your own strength. We clink glasses as my phone buzzes with an email notification. The director of marketing position I applied for last week. I'll read it later. Tonight belongs to celebration. After everyone leaves, I unwrap my final housewarming gift to myself. The framed photograph feels heavier than its physical weight deserves. 15 black garbage bags standing like sentinels at my mother's gate, captured on my phone that afternoon before I started loading my car. I hang it in my home office, where I'll see it daily, not as a reminder of betrayal, but as evidence of how far I've come. Below it sits a folder containing application forms for a small grant program I've created, funded from my promotion bonuses. Emergency housing deposits for young adults forced from their homes by family, no strings attached. As I hang that final photograph, I wonder if true healing comes from forgiveness or from building something new from the broken pieces. What matters more, making peace with the past or creating a future where those wounds no longer define you? The answer, perhaps, is in the question itself, the very fact that I can ask it without pain slicing through me. Sometimes the greatest freedom isn't forgetting the hurt, but transforming it into something that helps others find their way home. My phone buzzes against the nightstand, dragging me from deep sleep. The red numbers on the hotel clock glare accusingly. 1:47 a.m. Denver's city lights filter through thin curtains as I fumble for my cell, squinting against its harsh glow. A text message from Mom. Finally took care of that empty house of yours. You're welcome. I blink, trying to make sense of the words through my sleep-fogged brain. Empty house? What is she talking about? My thumb swipes open the message thread, revealing a cascade of follow-up texts. The realtor found us a cash buyer, $1.25 million. Can you believe it? We used that old power of attorney from when you deployed to Kuwait. Don't worry, we signed everything properly. My body goes rigid. The power of attorney, the military document I'd signed 8 years ago, meant for emergencies during deployment, the one I forgot to revoke. Another text appears. Rachel's wedding venue deposit is secured. She's ecstatic. The caterer, the band, everything top shelf. Our baby deserves the best. A cold wave washes over me as the pieces click into horrifying place. The Bethesda house. My house. The one the Marshal Service uses as a safe house for the Romano cartel witnesses. The Espinoza family, Carla and her boys living there under round-the-clock protection. My parents just sold a federal safe house to fund my sister's wedding. My hands tremble as I call Mom back, praying this is some terrible misunderstanding. She answers on the first ring, chipper despite the hour. Vanessa, isn't it wonderful news? We've been trying to reach you for days. Mom, I say, my voice barely controlled. What exactly did you do? We sold your house in Bethesda. That place you never visit? The one just sitting there empty? Tom, pick up the extension. Vanessa's on the line. I hear Dad's voice, gruff with sleep. Van? That you? The house wasn't empty. I managed through clenched teeth. Don't be silly. Mom laughs. We drove by twice. Not a single light on, newspapers piled up. The realtor did a walkthrough. Nobody lives there. Of course not. The Marshal Service maintains perfect operational security. Blackout curtains, mail collection protocols, no visible signs of habitation. You had no right, I whisper. We had every right, Dad counters. That power of attorney is still valid. We checked with Rachel's fiancé's cousin who practices real estate law. A crushing weight settles on my chest. Who bought it? Greenstone Realty Group. Mom chirps. All cash. Can you believe our luck? Settlement was yesterday. Rachel's already put deposits on the Plaza Hotel ballroom. Greenstone. The name means nothing to me, but ice forms in my veins. Cash buyers don't ask questions. Cash buyers with shell company names pay premium prices for very specific reasons. Vanessa. Dad's voice drops into that familiar tone, the one he's used my entire life when explaining why Rachel's needs trumped mine. Sometimes family comes first. Rachel needs this more than you do. An old familiar ache blooms, but I shove it aside. This isn't about childhood slights or Rachel's golden child status. This is about 3 lives now in imminent danger. I have to go, I say flatly, but we need to discuss. I end the call, fingers already dialing Deputy Chief Hale's direct line. He answers on the 4th ring, voice thick with sleep. Hale. Sir, my parents just sold the Romano safe house. The silence stretches for 3 heartbeats. Then his voice transforms, sleep vanishing instantly. Say that again, Deputy. My parents found an old military power of attorney and sold my Bethesda house to a cash buyer. Settlement completed yesterday. Jesus Christ. The rustling of sheets. A lamp clicking on. Who's the buyer? Greenstone Realty Group, LLC. His sharp intake of breath tells me he's reached the same conclusion I have. Nobody pays cash for a federal law enforcement officer's home unless they're hunting someone. Get on the next flight to DC. His voice has turned to granite. I'm activating a Tier 1 relocation. I'll call in the team. Sir, This is not a discussion, Cole. The Espinosas are blown. If Romano's people made the connection between you and that house, they're already moving. My throat constricts as reality crashes down. The Romano cartel. Victor Romano Jr., the man whose father Carla Espinoza is testifying against. The man with a reputation for sending dismembered body parts as warnings. Yes, sir. On my way. I throw my suitcase onto the bed and start shoving clothes inside, mind racing through emergency protocols. My phone feels like a brick in my hand, heavy with the weight of what's happened. What have they done? I whisper to the empty room. The answer comes in the form of my mother's next text, cheerfully explaining they've arranged a surprise engagement brunch for Rachel and Evan this Sunday. Have you ever received news that changed everything in an instant? I stare at the message, knowing that by morning, Rachel's wedding dreams will be the least of our family's problems. The Justice Department conference room smelled of burnt coffee and dread. 6 hours after my midnight call to Hale, I sat surrounded by grim-faced federal agents. My carry-on suitcase stood in the corner, still holding the hastily packed clothes from Denver. Let's review what we know. Deputy Chief Jordan Hale said, his thumb tapping against a manila folder. No tie, rumpled shirt, he'd been up all night assembling this emergency response team. The sale closed yesterday at 11:37 a.m. for $1.25 million to Greenstone Realty Group, LLC. Elaine Porter, senior counsel for the Witness Security Program, adjusted her wire-rimmed glasses. Market value of that property is $3.2 million. Nobody pays that far under market without a reason. Her voice held the tight control of someone who'd seen disaster before. The LLC was registered in Delaware 3 weeks ago. We've traced connections to shell companies in Nassau. My stomach clenched. It's Romano. Almost certainly. Elaine's eyes met mine. It's cartel-linked. I stared at the crime scene photos spread across the table. Not a crime scene yet, but the surveillance photos of my Bethesda Colonial, the home I'd purchased specifically because the Marshal Service needed a secure location. The home where Carla Espinoza and her sons had been living under 24-hour protection. How did they find it? My voice came out steadier than I felt. Hale slid a document across to me. A power of attorney form with my signature, yellowed at the edges from sitting in my parents' filing cabinet for 8 years. Your father presented this to the title company. They verified it against military records. It was for my Kuwait deployment. The words felt like ash in my mouth. I never revoked it. Your father listed your mother as the realtor of record. Hale's tone remained neutral, but his eyes betrayed his anger. Not at me, but at what had happened. 5% commission on top of the proceeds. $62,000. The number burned into my brain. For my sister's wedding. The Espinosas are being moved as we speak. Hale checked his watch. Tactical teams bringing them to a staging area. You're going to meet them there. Explain what happened. Fear snaked around my ribs. Sir, I don't think... They deserve to know why they're being uprooted, Cole. His voice left no room for argument. From someone who'll look them in the eye when she tells them. 4 hours later, I stood in the reinforced basement of the federal building, watching Carla Espinoza's face drain of color. Her boys, Miguel, 14, and Antonio, 10, huddled against her sides. The tactical team had rushed them from my house with only the clothes on their backs. "Your family?" Carla whispered, her fingers digging into her son's shoulders. "They found us because of your family?" I swallowed hard. "My parents. Yes." Her dark eyes narrowed, the trust we'd built over months of protection crumbling. "You swore we would be safe." "You are safe. We got you out in time." I gestured to the underground facility, the armed marshals at every door. "Romano's people haven't." "Mama!" Miguel interrupted, his adolescent voice cracking. "Will they find us again?" Before Carla could answer, the steel door opened. Marshal Deacon Ruiz entered, tactical vest still strapped to his chest. The man had been running operations for 18 hours straight, but his alertness never wavered. "Extraction teams ready when you are," he said, nodding respectfully to Carla. "Transport to Quantico leaves in 10. "Quantico?" Carla's eyes widened. "The Marine base?" "Temporary safe house until we can establish a new identity package," I explained, desperate to rebuild her confidence in our protection. "Nobody gets in or out without highest clearance." Elaine Porter strode in, tapping furiously on her tablet. "Money trails coming together." The same Nassau account that funded Greenstone made 3 payments to private investigators in the D.C. area over the past month. "They were already looking," Ruiz muttered, "and my parents gave them the golden ticket." The words tasted bitter. Carla clutched Antonio closer as the boy buried his face in her shirt. "Victor Romano Jr. doesn't stop hunting," she whispered. "Not until he finds what he wants." A chill ran through the room. Victor Romano Jr., son of the cartel boss Carla was set to testify against. The man who'd ordered her husband's execution. The man who sent dismembered fingers to federal prosecutors as warnings. "Mrs. Espinoza." Hale stepped forward, the authority in his voice commanding attention. "Romano's son doesn't know where you are now, and he never will." Antonio peeked out from his mother's embrace. "Promise?" The question hung in the air, a child's simple request for security that none of us could absolutely guarantee. "I promise we'll do everything in our power," Hale answered, the closest to honesty he could offer. 3 hours later, I watched from the federal building roof as the armored convoy departed for Quantico. 6 identical black SUVs, only one containing the Espinoza family. The others carried decoy teams, all following different routes to the Marine base 30 miles south. "They'll be secure tonight." Elaine joined me at the railing. "The money trail team needs your parents' banking information. Every transaction for the past 6 months." "You'll have it." I couldn't tear my eyes from the disappearing convoy. "You should know." She hesitated. "I've filed emergency motions to freeze the proceeds from the sale." "All of it." I nodded. "Including Rachel's wedding deposits." "The legal consequences for your parents will be what they deserve," I finished, surprising myself with the steel in my voice. Elaine studied me for a long moment. "What would you do if your family's actions put innocent lives at risk?" The question wasn't hypothetical. It was an assessment of me, of my loyalty, of which side I truly stood on. I turned to face her fully. I'd make sure justice was served, no matter who it hurt. My phone buzzed. Hale's number. "Cole," I answered. His voice came through tight and focused. "Intel just confirmed Romano's people were already surveilling Quantico when our convoy arrived. They're moving faster than we anticipated." The cold fear that had lingered all day crystallized into something harder, something resolute. "I'll meet you there in 30, I said. As I pocketed my phone, another message appeared from my mother. A photo of Rachel in a designer wedding gown, beaming. The caption, "Venue deposit paid, $380,000 total, but worth every penny. Can't wait to show you." I stared at my sister's smiling face, wondering if she knew her happiness had been purchased with 3 lives. Later that evening, the aroma of charcoal and grilled meat wafts across my parents' Lancaster backyard. Red checkered tablecloths flutter in the late afternoon breeze, while relatives cluster around picnic tables laden with potato salad, corn on the cob, and Dad's famous ribs. A scene so achingly normal it makes my stomach clench. I hang back by the garage with Hale and 2 agents, watching my sister Rachel hold court near the rose trellis. Her diamond engagement ring catches sunlight as she flips through photos on her tablet, surrounded by aunts and cousins. $380 in deposits, Rachel announces, her voice carrying across the yard. The Plaza Hotel ballroom books up years in advance, but they had a cancellation. She tucks a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. We got so lucky. Lucky. The word sticks in my throat like a fishbone. You ready for this? Hale asks beside me, his government-issue SUV ticking as it cools in the driveway. No, I answer honestly, but necessary things rarely wait for ready. We move across the lawn together. Conversation dies and ripples as heads turn. My cousin Brenda's plastic cup freezes halfway to her mouth. Uncle Frank's eyebrows climb toward his receding hairline. Rachel spots us last, her smile vanishing when she registers my expression and the strangers flanking me. Mom emerges from the kitchen, wiping hands on her apron. Vanessa, you made it after all. Her voice trails off as she takes in Hale's grim expression. Who are your friends, dear? Hale steps forward, badge already extended. Deputy Chief Jordan Hale, U.S. Marshal Service. We need to discuss the Bethesda property. Dad appears from behind the grill, beer in hand. What's this about, Van? The yard has gone cemetery quiet. Even the birds seem to pause their singing. That house wasn't just mine. I say, keeping my voice measured despite the fury churning beneath. It was a federal safe house protecting witnesses in an active cartel investigation. Dad's beer slips from his fingers. The bottle shatters against the patio stones, foam and glass spraying across his deck shoes. That's impossible, Mom sputters. We didn't know. Clearly, Hale cuts in. Otherwise, you wouldn't have sold federal property to a cash buyer without asking questions. Rachel pushes through the circle of relatives. What does this have to do with us? The house was empty. It wasn't empty, I say. The witnesses were temporarily relocated for a court appearance. They were scheduled to return tomorrow. This must be a misunderstanding, Dad insists, his face flushing crimson. The realtor assured us. Where did you find this realtor? Agent Grayson interrupts, notebook already open. Mom's hand flutters to her throat. Miriam Blackwell introduced us at Rotary Club. I mentioned Vanessa's empty house in Bethesda. You talked about my house at Rotary Club? The betrayal slices deeper. A house you knew I rarely discussed? You never visit it, Rachel snaps. It was just sitting there empty while I've been scrambling for wedding funds. My cousin Brenda tries to usher the children inside as the tension mounts. Uncle Frank mumbles something about grabbing another beer. Nobody moves. You should have told us about the witnesses, Dad says, finding his footing. This is on you, Vanessa. The accusation hits like a physical blow. You used an expired military power of attorney to sell property that wasn't yours to sell. We had every right, Mom insists, the lawyer said. Which lawyer? Hale demands. Rachel's fiancé's cousin, Mom says, her certainty wavering. He practices real estate law in Pittsburgh. Rachel steps forward, tears welling. You're ruining my wedding over your stupid job. $380,000 in non-refundable deposits. The dress alone cost... Rachel, I interrupt. 3 people's lives were endangered. Children. We didn't know, Mom wails. Hale clears his throat. Mrs. Cole, our investigation has revealed that Greenstone Realty Group LLC, the company that purchased the property, is owned by Victor Romano Jr. The name falls like a grenade into the barbecue. Even Rachel goes silent. Victor Romano, Dad repeats slowly, as in, the cartel family? The very same, Hale confirms. Agent Torres, would you show them the warrant? Torres steps forward with an official document. This is a federal seizure order for all proceeds from the sale of the Bethesda property, including any funds already dispersed or spent. Rachel's face drains of color. But my wedding. Federal funds take precedence over wedding cakes, Hale says without sympathy. From across the lawn comes the sound of a car door slamming. Rachel's fiancé Evan strides toward us, his golf polo pristine, sunglasses perched on his head. What's going on? He asks, sensing the tension. Rachel texted something about the feds and money. Agent Torres hands him a copy of the warrant. He scans it, jaw tightening. Is this for real? He asks, looking from Rachel to my parents, then to me. You're telling me the wedding money came from a house sale to drug dealers? Evan, we can explain, Rachel begins. No thanks. He tosses the papers onto the picnic table. I'm not starting my life with cartel money and federal investigations. Call me when this mess is straightened out. He turns and walks back to his BMW. Evan, Rachel chases after him across the lawn. You can't just leave. Dad sinks onto a bench, suddenly looking every day of his 64 years. "This isn't just about money, is it?" he asks quietly. "No, Mr. Cole," Hale answers. "Witness protection breaches carry criminal penalties." My phone buzzes. Marshall Ruiz's name flashes on the screen. I answer, stepping away from my disintegrating family gathering. "Cole," I answer. Ruiz's voice is tight with urgency. "We have a situation at Quantico." Romano's people were spotted surveilling the facility. My blood runs cold. "Tell security not to engage. I'm coming in." I end the call and turn back to the barbecue. Rachel's sobbing by her abandoned tablet. Mom clutches Dad's arm, both looking smaller somehow. "I need to go," I tell Hale. "Romano's men are at Quantico." He nods once, professional mask firmly in place. "Agents Torres and Grayson will continue here. I'll drive you." As we head for the SUV, Mom calls after me. "Vanessa, please, your sister needs you." I pause, one foot already in the vehicle, and look back at my family surrounded by half-eaten barbecue and federal agents. The question surfaces unbidden in my mind. At what point does family loyalty reach its breaking point? For me, that moment just arrived. The convoy glides through midnight streets, headlights cutting ribbons through fog that hangs like funeral shrouds. 3 black SUVs with federal plates, no sirens, no flashers. Nothing to announce our presence as we smuggle the Espinoza family away from a sanctuary that no longer exists. I check my watch. 3:17 a.m. We've been moving for 20 minutes. In the back seat, Carla clutches her younger son Miguel to her chest, his 10-year-old body curled against her like a question mark. 14-year-old Luis stares out the window, jaw muscle twitching beneath skin pulled taut across his cheekbones. His eyes reflect passing streetlights, flashes of gold in darkness that reveal nothing of his thoughts. "How much longer?" Carla whispers, her accent thickening with exhaustion. "Another 40 minutes to the airfield," I answer, keeping my voice low. "Then a direct flight to the new location." Luis turns from the window. "Will they find us again?" His voice cracks, betraying the man-child facade he's been maintaining. Beneath the teenage stoicism lurks a terrified boy who has already witnessed too much cartel violence. The question hangs between us. I could offer platitudes, empty reassurances that federal protection is impenetrable, but this family deserves better than comfortable lies after what my parents have done. I meet his eyes directly. "Not while I'm alive." The promise settles around us like armor. Deputy Chief Hale, driving the lead vehicle, signals a turn. We follow, sliding deeper into residential suburbs that sleep unaware of the life and death drama passing through their streets. My phone vibrates against my hip. "Dad. The 5th call tonight." I silence it without looking. At the airfield, Marshall Ruiz oversees the loading procedures, his massive frame silhouetted against floodlights. His team forms a protective circle around the Espinosas, weapons visible, eyes scanning shadows beyond the tarmac. "All clear," Ruiz confirms, voice graveled from too many cigarettes and too little sleep. "Planes ready. Pilot reports clear weather all the way." I nod, throat tight as Carla leads her boys up the stairs to the small government jet. They carry nothing but backpacks, all they're allowed from their former life. Everything else stays behind, too dangerous to transport, too easily traced. "Someone from the office sent this," Ruiz says, handing me a tablet. "Thought you should see it before takeoff." The screen shows a news website. "Major breach in witness security program threatens cartel prosecution." My stomach drops as I scroll to a video clip of my mother standing before microphones on our Lancaster porch. "We had no idea," she sobs, perfectly made up, even in distress. "We thought the house was empty. How were we supposed to know about some secret government program?" The camera cuts to a Justice Department spokesperson on the courthouse steps, stern-faced. I spot myself in the background, expressionless beside Hale as reporters shout questions we cannot answer. I hand the tablet back to Ruiz, nausea rising. "That's not even the worst of it," he says, pulling up another screen. "Rachel's Instagram. 43 minutes ago, when your sister's secret job ruins your entire wedding and bankrupts your parents. Thanks for nothing at V. Cole. Family betrayal. Wedding disaster. Worst sister ever." 2,000 sympathetic comments already. "Family, huh?" Ruiz says, with surprising gentleness for a man who specializes in tactical operations. "Tough break." I swallow hard. They made their choice. My phone lights up with a text from an unknown number. Dad using mom's friend's phone to bypass my blocks. Vanessa, please, we can fix this. Just talk to us. I delete it without responding. Inside the plane, Luis and Miguel have fallen asleep, heads tilted against each other. Carla watches me enter, her dark eyes knowing. She spent 2 years testifying against men who murdered her husband for refusing cartel demands. She recognizes the weight of impossible choices. Your family, she says softly. This must be hard. I sink into the seat across from her. They're alive, unlike what would have happened to you if we hadn't moved quickly. She nods, understanding the unspoken truth. The Romano organization doesn't leave witnesses. Victor Jr. has personally overseen 3 dismemberments of potential informants. In my country, Carla says, we have a saying, blood makes you related, loyalty makes you family. She reaches across the narrow aisle, squeezes my hand briefly. You have shown loyalty. The plane's engines rumble to life. Through the window, I watch Ruiz's team disperse, heading to vehicles strategically positioned around the airfield. Protection doesn't end with transport. They'll maintain surveillance until takeoff, then communications blackout for 12 hours. My phone buzzes again. Hail this time. Porter's built a solid case. DOJ is moving forward with charges against your parents. 6 counts, including obstruction of justice and endangering federal witnesses. I press my forehead against cool glass. And Romano? Junior was spotted at 3 locations near Quantico yesterday. He's accelerating the search. Porter thinks he paid your parents' realtor a finder's fee of $50,000. The betrayal deepens like a knife twisting. $50,000. A fraction of what they made from the sale. Blood money they took without question. Hale continues. We've got round-the-clock security at the courthouse. Carla testifies next Tuesday. I'll be there. Your sister's going public again tomorrow. Morning shows, painting herself as the victim. A bitter laugh escapes me. Of course she is. The plane taxis toward the runway. Beside me, Carla straightens her son's blankets with the automatic tenderness of motherhood, her hands gentle despite the steel in her spine. 3 lives preserved despite my family's betrayal. You should know, Hale says before hanging up. Every marshal in the division has requested assignment to this case. They're calling you their betrayed sister. His voice softens. Family takes different forms, Cole. Remember that. As we lift into darkness, my phone displays one final message from Elaine Porter, DOJ's senior counsel. Subpoenas issued for Thomas and Margaret Cole. Will you testify? The question burns brighter than the plane's wing lights against night sky. Below us, the city shrinks to a constellation of distant stars, each light representing lives untouched by the Romano cartel's reach. Lives worth protecting, even at personal cost. The plane banks east, carrying its precious cargo towards safety. I type my response to Porter, each letter a commitment I cannot retract. Yes, whatever it takes. Have you ever had to stand firm when everyone expected you to back down? On the confrontation day, Pastor Bill shifts in the hard wooden chair outside the courtroom, Bible clutched in his liver-spotted hands. He spots me approaching and rises, his kind face creased with concern. Vanessa, please reconsider. Forgiveness is divine. Your parents made a terrible mistake, but they're still family. I halt, coffee cooling in my hand. My throat tightens at his familiar voice, the same one that guided me through confirmation class at 16. They put 3 lives at risk, Pastor. The youngest boy still has nightmares. He leans closer, breath smelling of butterscotch candies. They didn't know. Margaret told me they thought the house was empty. They never called to ask. The words taste bitter. They saw an opportunity for Rachel's perfect day and took it. The rest didn't matter. The callers of all. Down the corridor, my mother's attorney gestures urgently. Franklin Walsh, Lancaster's most prominent defense lawyer, with his gold cufflinks and $1,000 suit. My parents mortgaged their retirement to afford him. Your sister had to move in with Evan's parents. Pastor Bill continues. Your childhood home's been seized. Haven't they suffered enough? The courtroom doors open. Deputy Chief Hale emerges, his face a professional mask. Our eyes meet, and he gives a nearly imperceptible nod. My cue. I have to go. I have to go. Pastor Bill's hand brushes my sleeve. Blood is thicker than water, Vanessa. So is responsibility. I step away. And some things can't be washed clean. Inside, the courtroom hushes as I enter. Polished wood gleams under fluorescent lights. The American flag hangs limply beside the judge's bench. I spot Rachel in the second row, her mascara already smudged. She hasn't spoken to me since the barbecue 3 months ago. My father sits at the defense table, shoulders slumped inside his best suit, the one he wore to my academy graduation, the one he now wears to his sentencing. Mother sits beside him, back straight, hands clasped primly on the table. She's lost weight. The pink cardigan she once filled out now hangs from her frame. Judge Harriet Monroe shuffles papers at her bench, reading glasses perched on her nose. At 72, she's a legend in federal circles, 30 years on the bench and unflinching when it comes to obstruction of justice. Deputy Marshal Cole. She calls, looking over her glasses. The prosecution indicates you wish to speak. I rise, smoothing my charcoal skirt. Yes, Your Honor. Mother's eyes light with hope. Dad straightens, his face softening. They think I'm here to plead for leniency. They're wrong. I approach the witness stand, Bible cool beneath my palm as I swear to tell the truth. The oak railing feels solid under my fingers, something to anchor me as Walsh approaches, his smile confident. Deputy Marshal Cole, you've had time to reflect on this unfortunate situation. Would you like to speak in mitigation for your parents? The courtroom waits. Every eye watches. Rachel leans forward. I would not. The words fall like stones. Mother's face collapses. Dad's jaw clenches, the muscle twitching the way it always did when I disappointed him. Walsh recovers quickly. Perhaps you could explain to the court that there was no criminal intent, that this was merely a misunderstanding? Objection. Elaine Porter, senior counsel for the DOJ, rises, leading the witness. Sustained, Judge Monroe says. I don't wait for the next question. With the court's permission, I'd like to submit evidence the prosecution may have overlooked. Judge Monroe nods. Proceed, Deputy. Hale hands me a folder. Inside are the documents I've prepared, evidence collected over 3 months of investigation. This is a timeline showing cartel surveillance of the Bethesda property beginning 12 hours after closing. I hand the first document to the bailiff. Note the license plates match vehicles connected to Victor Romano Jr. Mother whimpers. This is a recording from the Rotary Club luncheon where Margaret Cole first mentioned the empty house in Bethesda to James Weston, who connected her with the supposed realtor. The second document passes to the bailiff. Weston has since been identified as a low-level associate of the Romano organization. Dad's hands tremble. This is the power of attorney document my parents used. Page 3 clearly states it's limited to military deployment emergencies. Page 4 contains my father's initials acknowledging these restrictions. Rachel stifles a sob. And finally, I say, my voice steady despite the earthquake inside me. These are photographs of Carlos Espinoza, age 10, during emergency relocation. The psychologist's report notes, he now refuses to sleep without the lights on and experiences panic attacks when hearing Spanish spoken near him. The photographs show a small boy, eyes wide with terror, clutching a stuffed dinosaur as Marshal Ruiz hustles him through a rear exit. The second shows him huddled against his mother in a transport van, fingers pressed over his ears. Walsh blusters. Your Honor, these are clearly meant to prejudice the court. These are consequences, Mr. Walsh, I reply before the judge can. Actions have them. You may step down, Deputy Marshal, Judge Monroe says, her eyes lingering on the photographs. I return to my seat beside Hale, legs trembling beneath my professional exterior. I don't look at my parents. Can't. The sentencing proceeds with terrible efficiency. Victor Romano Sr., life imprisonment without parole. Victor Romano Jr., 22 years for witness tampering and attempted murder. The kingpin and his heir, taken down by a mother brave enough to testify. Then my parents. Thomas Cole, Judge Monroe intones. I sentence you to 4.5 years in federal prison, followed by 3 years supervised release. Dad's shoulders sag. Margaret Cole, I sentence you to 3 years federal prison, followed by 2 years supervised release. Mother's sob echoes against the high ceiling. The court also orders forfeiture of all proceeds from the illegal sale, including wedding deposits and purchases. Rachel bolts from the courtroom, door swinging in her wake. After, in the marble corridor, my extended family forms a gauntlet of accusing eyes. Uncle Dave steps forward, my father's older brother with his Korean War veteran's cap and perpetual scowl. You could have helped them, he growls. Instead you buried them. I meet his gaze. This man who taught me to fish on summer weekends at Lake Champlain. They buried themselves when they sold that house. It's just a house, for Christ's sake. It was 3 lives, Uncle Dave. A mother and 2 children who trusted us to keep them safe. And what about your mother? Your father? His voice cracks. What about family loyalty? The question hangs between us like smoke. Behind him, cousins and aunts watch, waiting for my answer. Some principles run deeper than blood, I say finally. If that makes me cold, so be it. I walk away, heels clicking against marble. Outside, reporters cluster on the courthouse steps. Camera flashes explode as the door opens. Microphones thrust toward me. Deputy Marshal Cole, do you regret testifying against your parents? I pause, considering the question. Wind catches my hair, bringing the scent of cherry blossoms from the nearby park. Spring in D.C., life renewing while other things wither. Justice isn't about regret, I tell them. It's about drawing lines between right and wrong, and standing on the right side no matter the cost. Behind me, Marshal Ruiz appears, a silent sentinel in tactical gear. We descend the steps together toward the waiting government SUV, leaving the cameras and questions behind. What price would you put on doing what's right, even when it costs you everything? For me, the answer was simple. None at all. Morning light streams through my Arlington apartment windows. 4 years since the trial. 2 years since I watched my parents led away in handcuffs. The coffee maker gurgles in my kitchen as I button my blazer, fingertips grazing the deputy chief badge pinned to my belt. My phone buzzes. A text from Carla Espinoza with a photo attached. Her oldest son won a high school award, beaming next to his mother and younger brother. He wants to study at Georgetown Law. The message reads, said he wants to become a prosecutor. You made this possible, Vanessa. I study their faces alive, thriving, safe, and tuck the phone into my pocket. On my desk sits a single framed photograph. My military unit in Kuwait, arms linked, desert sun harsh against our squinting eyes. The day I signed that power of attorney. The document that nearly got 3 people killed. The drive to Alderson Federal Prison takes 3 hours. Security procedures another 40 minutes. Then Margaret sits across from me at a scratched metal table, orange jumpsuit hanging loose on her frame. Her hair has gone completely gray. You look well, she says, hands folded precisely as they were at countless dinner tables throughout my childhood. The promotion suits you. I say nothing, just slide the envelope across to her. Another one? She touches it like it might burn her fingers. I've written you 6 times now. I know. She opens it carefully, unfolding 6 handwritten pages. Her eyes scan the first paragraph, then look up. You read them all? Every word. Margaret's throat works as she swallows. When will you forgive us, Vanessa? The question hangs between us like smoke. For 2 years I've asked myself the same thing. 2 years watching her age in 15-minute increments across this same table. When I can look at you without seeing the faces of those you almost got killed. She flinches, eyes dropping to her hands. We didn't know. You didn't want to know, I correct her. Rachel's wedding mattered more than asking why I owned a house I never visited. Thank you for watching. Outside, visitors hug their loved ones in the parking lot. A child squeals with delight as her father swings her high. Family, such a simple word for something so complicated. Back at headquarters, I lead the monthly review of active witness cases. My team presents security assessments, threat analyses, housing proposals. They're good people. Committed. Not a single witness lost under our protection since I took over. Deputy Chief? Marshal Ruiz lingers after the meeting. New class starts training next week. Still want to take point on the ethics module? I nod, gathering my files. Schedule it for Thursday morning. The training room fills with fresh faces, crisp uniforms, eager eyes. I stand before them, their attention absolute. You'll protect witnesses from professional killers, organized crime, terrorist cells. I tell them, but that's the easy part. Confusion flickers across their expressions. Sometimes the hardest part of this job isn't protecting witnesses from strangers, it's protecting them from the people we love. From your roommate who mentions your odd hours to a friend, from your spouse who resents the secrets, from your parents who think they know what's best for your property. 500 Wada. Their faces sober with understanding. Later, Hale finds me at the window overlooking the D.C. skyline. Monuments lit against the evening sky. Saw you signed off on tomorrow's prison transport, he says, joining me. You ever think about reconciling with them? before their sentences end? I watch a plane blink its way toward Reagan National. They valued $1.25 million more than 3 lives. I say finally, if that makes me cold for walking away, so be it. Some duties run deeper than blood.